Hi, peace lovers, and welcome back. I'm Avis Kalfsbeck, and this is the Pieces Here podcast. We are currently in a fiction series here on the podcast titled Experiment Zero of the Peace Experiments. This is a 13-episode series following the reports of Kitty O'Compost, a small-town journalist with a sharp wit and a truth-telling goat named Marzipan. In this story, Kitty untangles the mystery of a global peace protocol through the lens of a local pothole, proving that the big questions of the world are usually hidden in the small things we walk over every day. It's a journey about the commons, the power of young people, and the quiet maintenance of peace. If you found us in the middle of this series, feel free to pop back to episode 184 to start the story from the beginning. Today's chapter takes us out of meetings and into the soil. Kitty visits a place where ideas don't argue. They decompose, rest, and come back changed. If you've ever wondered whether peace has a practice, not just a policy, this chapter begins to answer that question. Here is Chapter 7, No Gates in the Garden. The son of a midway finally decided to show up for work, spilling morning light across the community garden like a benediction. The soil shimmered with last night's rain, and the air smelled of tomato vines, damp wood chips, and something else. Possibility, maybe. I paused at the gravel path to take my census of the self. Kitty O'Compost, equipped as follows: charcoal gray overalls, soft from wear and resistant to both mud and bureaucracy, a long-sleeved linen shirt rolled at the cuffs, a canvas hat borrowed from a neighbor and never returned, a messenger bag containing recording gear, a notebook, and yesterday's research notes folded like a secret, a seed packet in one pocket, found on my porch this morning, anonymous, and Marzipan, who trotted in beside me and immediately greeted the compost pile like an old friend. Inventory complete. Mother Sarah was waiting at plot 12, a small square of orderly chaos, beans climbing twine, herbs bolting, and a row of kale grown with stubborn confidence. She stood barefoot in the soil, her skirt brushed with dirt and her silver braid falling down her back like a river trying not to hurry. In the distance, the seed bank rose from the ridge like a living lung. Its exterior was not made of static glass, but of photoreactive scales that tilted toward the sun, mimicking the way a sunflower tracks the light. Below those scales, a network of translucent veins pulsed with captured rainwater, cooling the internal vaults without the hum of a single mechanical fan. It was a monument to the idea that technology could breathe with the mountain rather than simply sitting on top of it. It stood as a beautiful open-source defiance to the concrete silence of the Anti-Commons facility. "Kitty O'Compost," she said, her voice low and warm, "you've come with questions." She always said it like that, as if questions were something you carried visibly, like baskets or amulets. "I have," I admitted, "though I'm not sure which ones are mine and which ones belong to the town." She nodded. "Both kinds need tending." We settled on 2 overturned buckets by the compost heap. Steam rose from the pile, fragrant and alive with coffee grounds, apple peels, eggshells, and last week's pumpkins, the usual offering of this town trying to become something better. Marzipan circled once, then rested her head on Mother Sarah's knee. The elder scratched gently behind her ear. "She sees truth from angles we've forgotten," Sarah murmured. "I rely on her for fact-checking," I said, "as one should." I opened my notebook. I wanted to ask about the word commons. When it came up at the gym meeting, the engineer seemed unsettled. Mother Sarah laughed softly. "The anti-commons fear the commons the way darkness fears a single flame." "Can you explain it?" I said, "plainly?" She nodded and reached into the compost bin, scooping up a handful of warm, crumbling soil. It sifted through her fingers like something returning to itself. The common, she said, is everything we care for together: land, water, knowledge, safety, future. She turned her palm upward. It is stewardship, not ownership. The world is shared work, not private hoard. So why does the word bother them? I asked. She kneaded the soil absently like dough, because the anti-commons believe in gates, ownership, scarcity, control. She brushed her hands together. Scarcity gives power to a few. The commons gives resilience to everyone. I wrote that down carefully. She pointed toward the chain-link fence that bordered the garden. In the distance, the anti-commons facility's concrete angles cut into the horizon like a bureaucratic monument to anxiety. That building, she said, is designed to hoard data, authority, decision-making, a single point of failure wrapped in fear. And war infrastructure? Her smile softened. War infrastructure is merely energy in the wrong form, like food waste, like weeds. She tapped the compost pile. We return what harms us to the soil, slowly, patiently, not to erase it, but to transform it. You think weapons can be composted? I asked. Not literally, she said, but the systems that built them, the stories that justify them, those can be broken down, repurposed, made fertile. I exhaled. And the disarmament protocol? She dug her fingers deeper into the soil. A tool is ready. The humans are not. So the tool waits in its sterile box while the world keeps turning. I thought of the absurd implementation timelines, the comfort metrics, and the bureaucratic footnotes that stretched into next century. So the protocol isn't the problem, I said. No, she answered gently. Fear is. She nodded toward the garden around us, a tangle of life that was cooperative, disobedient, and entirely uninterested in permission slips. Life is commons by nature. It refuses tidy categories. It won't submit to anti-commons logic. Compost is just the proof that transformation is always possible. You could have said all this years ago. Why wait for my questions? Mother Sarah chuckled. Reporters always think they arrive first, but you arrive when the soil is ready. Is it ready? I asked. Mother Sarah rested her hand gently on top of the steaming compost. We are patient to find out, because compost only works when enough things are breaking down at once. Then she placed my hand on top of the compost. The heat rose through my palm, alive, patient, and insistent. I pressed my hand deeper. Remember, she murmured, fear only works when we rush. I rubbed my hands together to dust them off. Marzipan, ever attentive to symbolism, interpreted this as applause for her compost-related dance and did a small victorious hop. We sat in quiet for a moment longer, listening to worms rearrange the soil. On the walk home, Sarah's words continued to compost in my mind. I found myself thinking, if a kid is born into a world where the internet already exists, a whole web of shared knowledge, who gets to carve off pieces and call them personal fortune? If a single rocket can burn fuel that might power a town for days, who decided that fire belonged to one dream instead of many needs? The commons, I realized, was not a theory. It was a lens, and through it the world looked different. As I reached the street, Marzipan trotted beside me, her muzzle dusted with soil, carrying the look of someone who believed transformation was not only possible, but already underway. You've been listening to Experiment Zero of the Peace Experiments. I hope you'll join us for the next episode. My books and peace projects can be found at aviskalfsbeck.com, including the Peter the Water Dog Saves the Planet Best Friend Eco-Fiction series. For those who want to dive deeper into the peace themes we covered in 2025, I've created a 2025 recap ebook. It includes everything from Kitty Ocampo's satire debut to the deep history of the Great Disarmament. It's complimentary and available now at aviskalfsbeck.com/2025. Thank you again. Listen for the peace.